The Wild West wasn't just cowboys and gold rushes. Lurking in the shadows of this iconic era were the Cheyenne Dog Soldiers, warriors with a reputation that sent shivers down the spine of many. Known for their combat skills, they were more than just warriors. But there's a darker side to their story. Beyond their battles were tales of cruelty and torment, stories that many would rather forget. Welcome to Uncharted History. Today we're diving deep into the grim truths of the Cheyenne Dog Soldiers, uncovering the stomach-churning realities of death, slavery, and the unspeakable horrors inflicted on them by their prisoners. The Cheyenne didn't always call the vast plains their home. Originally, they hailed from Minnesota. Over time, as the 18th century rolled in, they moved westward. This wasn't just a simple relocation, it marked a significant transformation in their lifestyle. From settled communities, they evolved into a nomadic tribe, adapting to the challenges of the open plains and embracing the freedom it offered. One pivotal moment in their history revolves around a figure named Sweet Medicine. Legend has it that this semi-legendary prophet received visions and sacred arrows, which played a crucial role in reshaping Cheyenne society. It was during this period of reformation that the Dog Soldier Society was born. The story goes that an underdog warrior, often overlooked by his peers, founded this society. After a night filled with sacred songs, he led a group of dogs away from the camp. By morning, these dogs had transformed into fierce warriors. This miraculous event wasn't just a random occurrence, it was a sign, a new chapter for the Cheyenne. The Dog Soldiers had a unique way of presenting themselves in battle. They painted their bodies and horses, not just as a form of art, but as a symbol of intimidation. Their commitment to battle was further symbolized by dog ropes or sashes they wore, signifying their readiness to fight to the death. And atop their heads, they donned upright feathered war bonnets. These weren't just any feathers, they were raven or crow feathers, carefully arranged to point in various directions, marking their stature as elite warriors. Through these symbols and their fierce reputation, the Dog Soldiers etched their mark in the annals of history. Following their rise as a formidable warrior society, the Dog Soldiers didn't waste time making their presence felt. 1864 was a year of turmoil in the United States, with the Civil War tearing the nation apart. Sensing an opportunity amidst the chaos, the Dog Soldiers seized the moment. They recognized America's vulnerability and launched a series of raids, capitalizing on the nation's divided attention. One of the most notorious of these raids was the massacre along the Medicine Road. This wasn't a one-off attack, but a calculated campaign of terror. The Dog Soldiers left a trail of devastation, attacking stations and settlements from Washington County in Kansas, stretching all the way to Denver. The overland trade route, once bustling with activity, now bore witness to the horrors unleashed by these warriors. Their actions during the raids not only left a trail of destruction, but also forever altered the perception of the Cheyenne and their warrior societies. The Dog Soldiers' raids weren't just about territorial dominance. They were marked by deeply personal and horrifying acts, especially towards captive women. The Cheyenne, in general, held their women in high regard, often associating them with chastity. However, the raids painted a different, darker picture. Reports flooded in of Cheyenne warriors, including the Dog Soldiers, subjecting captive women to brutal treatment. This was a far cry from the respect and honor usually shown to Cheyenne women. The brutality inflicted on these captives was a grim reminder of the lengths the Dog Soldiers would go to instill fear and establish dominance. One incident that stands out in its sheer brutality occurred at David Bacon's farm. On an ill-fated day, a group of Dog Soldiers, possibly in search of food, entered the Bacon household, but what transpired was far from a simple raid. The warriors subjected Jane Bacon, the farmer's wife, to a traumatic ordeal that sent shockwaves across the region. This wasn't an isolated event. As the Dog Soldiers rampaged through Kansas, they left behind a trail of terror. Settlements across Solomon River, Mitchell County, Cloud County, and Ottawa County faced their wrath. Settlers were mercilessly killed, children were taken captive, and in some cases later abandoned. Women in particular bore the brunt of their cruelty, with many subjected to unspeakable acts of violence. Among the many tragic tales from this period is the story of the German family. John German, along with his family, was camped by the Smoky Hill River, probably thinking they were safe. But Chief Medicine Water and his band had other plans. In a sudden and brutal attack, John, his wife Lydia, and 3 of their children were killed. But the horror didn't end there. The 4 youngest German daughters, Catherine, Sophia, Julia, and Nancy, Adi, were taken captive. Their days in captivity were marked by hardship, malnutrition, and violence, especially at the hands of the younger dog soldiers. While 2 of the sisters were eventually traded to another band, Catherine and Sophia only tasted freedom in March 1875 after the surrender of Chief Stone Calf. These incidents, among many others, paint a grim picture of the lengths the dog soldiers went to assert their dominance and spread terror. Amid the tales of horror during the dog soldiers' reign of terror, the story of Sarah White stands out. In August 1868, Sarah was abruptly taken from her father's farm in Kansas. The days that followed were a blur of trauma and fear. Her captors showed little mercy, and every day was a test of her will to survive. However, in the midst of this darkness, Sarah found a glimmer of hope. She met Anna Morgan, another captive who'd been traded to the Sioux. Both women, torn from their homes and subjected to the same cruel fate, found solace in each other's company. Their bond became their strength. They were allowed to converse around the campfire, and these moments of shared conversation became their escape, a brief respite from the nightmare they were living. The turning point in Sarah's captivity came during the Battle of Washita on November 27, 1868. While she was in Chief Welwyn's village, she heard the distant shouts of battle. The dog soldiers, sensing danger, moved her to a different location. The cold was biting, and Sarah suffered from frostbite, adding to her already dire situation. But fate had a different plan. On March 22, 1869, near Sweetwater Creek, Texas, Sarah and Anna's ordeal finally came to an end. They were released and handed over to Lieutenant Colonel Custer and the soldiers of the 7th U.S. Cavalry and 19th Kansas Volunteer Cavalry. Their freedom was an illustration of their resilience and the bond they shared. Sarah White's story is a chilling reminder of the personal tragedies that unfolded during the dog soldiers' reign, but also of the human spirit's ability to find hope, even in the darkest of times. The dog soldiers weren't just known for their brutal raids. Their approach to warfare was equally chilling. Central to their combat strategy were rituals that many would find gruesome. They believed that by inflicting pain upon themselves, they could harness spiritual power, making them even more formidable in battle. This wasn't just about physical strength, it was a deep-seated belief that pain could elevate their spiritual prowess. They would often engage in acts of self-mutilation, believing that these acts would grant them an edge over their enemies. But their strength wasn't just spiritual. The dog soldiers were experts in guerrilla warfare. They knew the terrain like the back of their hand, using it to their advantage in battles. Their tactics were unpredictable, often relying on stealth and surprise. This made them a nightmare for their adversaries, who could never anticipate their next move. Their ability to blend into their surroundings and strike when least expected made them a force to be reckoned with. However, one event stands out when discussing the dog soldiers' warfare tactics: the Sand Creek Massacre on November 29, 1864. It's a dark stain on the pages of history. On that day, a village of Cheyenne and Arapaho, including women, children, and the elderly, was ruthlessly attacked by US forces. The troops didn't hold back, killing at least 150 Native Americans. But it didn't end at killing. The dead were mutilated, and their scalps were taken as grim trophies. This wasn't just an attack, it was a message, a show of dominance. The Sand Creek Massacre shattered any semblance of peace between the Plains Indians and white settlers. It fueled further conflict, with the dog soldiers at the forefront, seeking revenge for the atrocities committed against their people. This event, among their other warfare tactics, solidified the dog soldiers' reputation as one of the most fearsome groups in the Wild West era. One of the most chilling practices associated with the dog soldiers was the act of scalping. This wasn't a mere act of violence, it was a deeply ritualistic procedure, steeped in symbolism and tradition. Scalping involved cutting off the skin off the top of the head, with hair still attached, often while the victim was still alive. For the dog soldiers, this act served multiple purposes. Firstly, it was a tangible token of victory, a grim trophy that showcased their dominance over their enemies. But more than that, it held spiritual significance. Many believed that by taking a scalp, they were capturing the essence or spirit of their foes, thereby weakening the enemy's tribe and strengthening their own. The process was methodical, with specific tools and chants accompanying the act. The scalps were often displayed or worn, serving as a constant haunting reminder of the dog soldiers' prowess in battle and their capacity for brutality. This ritual, while common among many Native American tribes, became particularly associated with the dog soldiers due to their frequent raids and clashes, making it one of the most stomach-churning aspects of their legacy. As dominant as the dog soldiers were, they couldn't escape the tides of change sweeping across the nation. The westward expansion brought settlers hungry for land and opportunity. This movement, backed by the US government, disrupted the traditional territories and lifestyles of many Native American tribes, including the Cheyenne. However, while external conflicts raged on, an internal enemy was silently wreaking havoc. The cholera epidemic hit Native American communities hard. This disease, unfamiliar to the tribes, claimed countless lives, almost halving their population. The combined weight of external pressures and the devastating epidemic weakened the dog soldiers' influence, leading to their eventual decline. Thus, the dog soldiers' legacy is a combination of bravery, brutality, and resilience. Their once mighty presence faded, but the memories of their resistance and the challenges they faced remain etched in history. This is Uncharted History. See you next time.